Hello, welcome to the lesson on writing an introduction for the Lit Essay 2014. Okay, so this is basically an outline or a diagram that shows you what an essay should look like in terms of perspective. So if you look here, okay, this part is the introduction, this is the body, and this is the conclusion. Okay, let me explain them one by one. Now, an introduction, okay, let me see. Okay, an introduction is basically a broad view. Alright, so here at this part, you are actually talking about things in general right before you go into the body, which is more detailed, of course. Okay, and then the body, okay, it requires you to look at details, give evidence. So, of course, the perspective is much more specific. Okay, and here we go back out to the macro at the end, which is the conclusion. Okay, here you can also add a personal response. You get general again. Alright, so from here you can see that we go from, we go from general to specific and then back to general. Okay. Now, an introduction consists of 4 things. Okay, I'll only be talking about introduction for this lesson. Okay, first one, broad definition of terms, scope of essay, synopsis of place, and thesis statement in this order. Okay. Now, first of all, we have broad definition of terms. Okay, what do I mean by broad definition and of what terms? Alright, the terms that I'm talking about here, okay, they're referring specifically to the terms, the key terms that are in your essay question. Alright, so here you define them broadly. This is when your literature knowledge comes in. So for instance, your key term in the essay might be pick an intense and dramatic moment, okay, or it may be about conflict. Alright, and this is more general, okay, the crux of any play. So you can begin your essay like this, okay, for instance, conflict, as Aristotle once said, is, okay, what he actually said was that it's the essence of drama. So you can start with a quote perhaps, okay, just a broad definition of terms, alright. And now we move on to the second part, which is the scope of the essay. Okay, what do we mean by scope? Okay, we're basically outlining what the essay will be about. Okay, but we generally don't say this essay talks about or this essay will be about, because that's not very academic. Okay, so what you can say is this essay discusses, okay, or it explores, examines. Okay, so for instance, it discusses the intense and dramatic moments that occur in the 2 plays Sorry Wrong Number and Greenheart and the Dragon Pollutant, for instance. Okay. Now we move on to the synopsis of the play. Now you must always treat it as if the examiner or the reader has never read the play before. Alright, so you do have to give them a bit of a background on the play. So this is rather simple, alright. The play name, alright, you have to italicize this, by the way. The play name should always be italicized. Okay, it's about, then you give me, let's say, 1 or 2 lines on what it's about. Alright. And now we come to the final part of the introduction, which is the creation of the thesis statement. This is the most important part because it is the core of your essay, not just in literature but also in English and all the other subjects. Alright, so your thesis statement is basically what your whole essay is on. Okay, so for instance, both this play and that play, of course don't say X and Y, tell me the exact name of the play, impact me as, for instance, as they evoke strong emotions in me and they teach me values. That's it. Okay? Basically, this one thesis statement addresses the question directly. Alright, now I'm going to show you an example introduction for this essay question. How is conflict portrayed in Three Little Pigs and why is it important? Okay, can you please take a moment to think about the key terms? Okay, the key terms are actually conflict. Here we go, conflict. Okay, Three Little Pigs as well. Alright, the scope of the story, that is. And why is it important? Okay, let's say that this is the essay question. Now, let's look at the... Okay, please take a moment to read through. Okay, so let's analyze this, okay? Let's look at this part. conflict, as Aristotle once said. This looks familiar, right? Okay, this is actually, this part is actually the broad definition of terms. Okay, notice that I defined it at the start. Okay, without it, neither plot nor character can evolve. Okay, so this entire thing is the broad definition of terms. Okay, and then the next thing that we have is right here. This essay discusses, okay, the presence of conflict. So here we have our scope. Alright, the next thing is three little pigs. Okay, I go on to explain what it is. Okay, about three little pigs who each build a different type of house and all that. You don't have to do this in detail, just give me like maybe 1 or 2 lines. Alright, they all learn a lesson in hard work and humility. Okay, now this is where I address the question. Conflict is essential in the story. Okay, I'm answering why is it important. Okay, it's important or essential because it helps to push the pigs together and it teaches them an important lesson. And that's it for my intro paragraph. When I go on to do my body, okay, it will basically elaborate on this part, which is my thesis statement. Okay, every body paragraph is going to elaborate on this. Okay, and that's it for introduction. Any questions, please feel free to ask me in class, or you can go online to search for your own resources on how to write an introduction.